On the air with
Kirsty Law and Lynn Beaumont.
BBC Radio Kent.
On this Bank Holiday Monday, good afternoon to you, and you are on the air with me, Kirsty Law, and we are talking today about Melanoma Fund, raising awareness of skin cancer. And with me in the studio, I'm joined by Michelle Baker, who is the Chief Executive Officer from the Melanoma Fund, and also Jennifer O'Neill, who is a specialist surgeon at the Queen Victoria Hospital, specialising skin cancer hand surgery. Melanoma is the 5th most common cancer, and it is the fastest growing one. It's one that we can all do something about. Now, if you've got any worries or questions about melanoma, please do give us a call here in the studio, because both Michelle and Jennifer are happy to answer your questions, as well as telling you what they would recommend to try and reduce this killer. So please do get in touch with us, and here are the details you need.
Call Kirsty now.
0800 756 1111 or text Kent to 81333.
BBC Radio Kent.
Good afternoon and welcome to On the Air with Kirsty Law. I'm joined in the studio today by two experts who are doing all they can to raise awareness of melanoma and the fact that this is the fastest growing cancer and is the 5th most common now, which it is surprising that we don't hear more about it. It feels as if we hear regularly about breast and bowel cancer, but we don't. Michelle, do we hear that much about melanoma at the moment?
No, that's interesting, because one of our key words is melanoma is our best kept secret, which it kind of is. A lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people think it's just skin cancer, but I'm sure Jennifer will agree with me, this certainly isn't just skin cancer. It is the most dangerous form, mainly due to the fact it can travel around the body once it's seeded in, and so you can't just cut it out.
So explain to us then, Jennifer, what is it that you do when someone has got skin cancer?
So the most frustrating thing about melanoma is that it is largely preventable, either by avoiding excess sun exposure and sunburn, or by catching it early. So what I do is at the end of GP referrals, where a patient might go to the GP concerned about a lesion, and the GP will refer it on to a specialist, either a plastic surgeon like myself or a dermatologist, and we look at the lesion, and if we're suspicious of the lesion, we can excise it in its entirety as a biopsy and send it off for analysis. And then obviously the reason why it's so important to catch these things early is because the outlook is so much better if it's removed early.
And it is a cancer that you can, if you remove it, people can then go on to live and not have a recurrence. Is that right, if you get it early enough?
Well, it's difficult to know if it's become invasive, but the statistics that we have from previous analysis, it's changed a little bit now because there are some exciting new treatments for melanoma, giving us new hope of survival. But the statistics we have show clearly that the earlier you catch this disease, the better the outlook.
And Michelle, we are going to be talking later on in the show, in about 10-15 minutes' time, about the specific campaigns that you are launching a Melanoma Fund later this month and next month. But one of the things that's absolutely clear is it is all about wearing sunscreen, isn't it? And it's something that I was saying when I was talking to Lembert about the show earlier. I don't recall as a child ever wearing sunscreen in this country, and people didn't, did they?
No, that's correct. And I think it's not just about not wearing sunscreen as children. I think most of us, especially I can actually admit this on air myself, sunbathed in Greece with probably olive oil on. Which is, I can't believe I just said that, but obviously that was in sheer ignorance, and something a lot of people can probably relate to.
Yes. So
it's just raising awareness of the risks, and I will run through the campaigns that we've got, which will obviously give you more details on that.
And one of the things that I find strange is sunscreen, the rating for it has gone up and up and up, because I can remember factor 15 being as high as you can get, and now factor 15 is pretty rubbish, isn't it?
Well, that's interesting, because we used to look at the SPF, which is sun protection factor, and I used to go for the lowest possible, which was a 2, Hawaiian Tropic.
I think you could get 1 Malibu oil, I seem to recall, in a dodgy Lanzarote supermarket.
I think you can, but our advice is SPF 30, which always used to be, we can't use that because we won't get the tan, which is obviously not the case. You do get the tan, but you just don't get the pre-burn, which is something obviously you need to avoid. So factor 30 is really what you should be aiming for.
And then if you're going sort of in the mountains, is it right to up it to factor 50? Is that why? I mean, I see in the shops now factor 50 for children. Is that what we should be wearing?
I think to get the protection that it advertises, you need to put quite a lot on, number one, so that's it. And also be wary that it can wash off, it can sweat off, so you do need to reapply it. There are long-acting ones that are advertised as long-acting, but you can't rely on that. And over time, the protection will go down. And actually, you don't have to spend a lot of money. On sun cream, you can look at what's in it, you can look at the star rating and the SPF rating, and sometimes the more expensive ones might mix in, they might feel better, but not necessarily nowadays. Some good ones are coming out.
So you can get it at a reasonable price, and presumably, people are now at the point of booking holidays. Actually, hopefully this weekend, people are out in the sun enjoying themselves, perhaps mixing it with water. It is important, isn't it, to get one that's got water protection if your kids are going to spend hours in the pool.
Yeah, and I think reapply it. The other thing is that no matter how wonderful your sun protection that you buy is that's in the form of a cream, the best form of sun protection is opaque clothing. So actually, if you are worried about your children, I'd recommend rash vests or a swimming suit that covers them.
Yes, my children are both fair-skinned, and we had those lovely ones that literally go down to the wrists and below the knees, and they were just, you didn't have to worry about them.
And of course the hat as well,
yes.
And you can get ones that are swimming hats.
Yeah, you can get the lovely matching hats to it.
Yeah.
I have been made to buy those. Right, thank you very much. Now, if you would like to join the conversation here at BBC Radio Kent, if you've got any worries about perhaps someone in the family, a dodgy mole or something, and just want to talk about us, or if you've had experience of being treated, we'd love to hear from you. Do get in touch. The details you need, 0800 756 1111, or you can text us 81333. Please start your text with the word Kent. You can also tweet us at BBC Radio Kent, or get us on Facebook, BBC Radio Kent Official. That's everybody's free to wear sunscreen. Now, we've just been joined in the studio by Lembit, who has come back because he is a little bit concerned. Well, tell us, Lembit, explain why you're here.
I was listening to you on BBC Radio Kent.
Were you now?
Just now in the car. I was going up the hill. You're talking about moles, getting things checked out. I thought, case study. Let's see what your experts say about... I don't know what it's called. This lump on my arm.
Lembit is presenting a lump which you've had for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, about a couple of weeks. It sort of grew a bit, and now it's changed a little bit again.
Well, it's very unfair because Jennifer hasn't got any of her equipment here, but should he be getting this checked out?
Well, so I'm Jennifer O'Neill. I'm a plastic surgery consultant specialist in skin, and often I see patients like you in my clinic who are concerned about their skin. You do look quite fair-skinned, if I might say. And have you had some sun exposure in your lifetime?
Not really. I don't do sunbathing.
Any family history of skin cancers or anything that makes you worry more? Well, as this has quite a recent history, I mean, to be honest with you, it looks a bit like a spot, but
Lembit's come in with teenage acne.
But we should be careful, and if it doesn't resolve, I'd say in the next couple of weeks, then come and see me in my clinic with my equipment. We'll have a look. And sometimes I do excise these things for biopsy and send them to our histopathologist to see what it is. And we can't be complacent. And anything that remains, and spots normally go away after a couple of weeks or so. So if you'll say it's staying longer, then we should definitely get it checked out.
It started just as a little... I thought it was probably some imperfection or something in the skin. It doesn't hurt or anything, and it seems to be drying out. But I was listening to your advice.
Yep. You should get these things checked out. Now, we've just had a text in from Mike from Sheppey, and he says, I had a biopsy 3 weeks ago on my nose. End of the month, I was told I will have skin taken from my neck for plastic surgery. Is this painful? Now, Jennifer, this is a question aimed at you. Is it painful?
So it sounds like he's been told that he needs a skin graft. This is something that I do a lot of. So the nose is a difficult area just to close because... with the loss of skin on the nose would look quite deformed afterwards if you just closed it. So we need some extra skin to bring in. And taking a little skin from the neck area or in front or behind the ear is quite a common procedure to resurface that area. Will it hurt? I don't know. The biopsy presumably had a bit of local anaesthetic. That's the main thing that stings a bit when it goes in. But I think these local anaesthetics are tolerable. I mean, I do a lot of them on people, and they live to tell the tale. So I definitely wouldn't be put off having it done if you need it.
So I hope that's helpful, Mike, and good luck with that surgery. It doesn't sound like it should be too bad. Now, coming up later on in the show, we are going to be talking about the specific campaigns that Melanoma Fund are doing. But one of the things, now Lembit's just rushed in as we've been hearing from him, but it's a problem, isn't it, Jennifer? People never like going to their GP. It's the classic thing. They go and say, I'm really sorry, I'm probably wasting your time. And the GP probably thinks, I hope you are wasting my time, because then there's nothing wrong with you. But it's better to be safe, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think GPs are very alert to skin cancer, not just melanoma, but other skin cancers. Basal cell carcinoma is one of the most the common type, squamous cell carcinoma, and all these things, if they're picked up early, have a better outlook and perhaps less surgery as well. So if you go to your GP and they're worried, they'll refer on to someone like me who will have a look. I've got a dermatoscope, which is a special tool to help me see it better. And if we're worried, we then cut it out and send it off for analysis.
So much better to be safe and find out what's going on. Now, as I said, coming up shortly, just straight after travel, we are going to be talking about the various campaigns that Melanoma Fund are going to be running. And if you'd like to join the conversation here, if you'd be interested in fundraising to help them, or if you've got a question, you can text us, as Mike from Sheppey did earlier, or call in. Text 81333, starting your text with the word Kent, or 0800 756 1111. But first of all, let's have the travel. Yeah, good afternoon on this Good Friday. And you're on the air with me, Kirsty Law, here at BBC Radio Kent, and we've been talking about melanoma, the fifth most common and also the fastest growing cancer. And we need to know more about it. We need to be more educated. We can take steps to prevent it. And we've been hearing from one of my guests, Jennifer O'Neill, about the surgery that can be done and the importance of spotting things early enough. Now, if you've got any worries or concerns, if you're think you or your family members might be affected by melanoma and would like to join the conversation here at BBC Radio Kent, the number to call is 0800 756 1111, or you can text us on 81333, starting your text with the word Kent. Please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you, and these experts are in the studio ready to answer your questions. Now, Michelle, you are the Chief Executive Officer at the Melanoma Fund. You've got 3 campaigns coming up. Just tell us a little bit about those.
Yes, so our 3 campaigns focus on the niche areas of the community who are most at risk. So our first campaign, which launched this week, is called the Outdoor Kids Sun Safety Code. It's a campaign which is designed to improve the provision of sun protection by all those who work with children. So we're talking coaches, horse riding instructors, outdoor activity leaders, everyone that works with children outdoors. So the Outdoor Kids Sun Safety Code, oksunsafetycode.com, is supported by over 100 national governing bodies of sport. They all help us get the message out there to all those people that work with children outdoors. And it's partnered with the Youth Sport Trust, the Child Protection in Sport Unit, the Association of P, and UK Coaching. So it's very well supported in the UK.
And we were talking earlier about the fact that people can be concerned about the cost of sun cream. Do these agencies provide the sun cream, or are they saying to the kids, turn up with your sunscreen on and we make sure you're wearing it?
What we basically do is provide them with some guidelines to ensure that they improve their provision. So it's not just all about sunscreen. It's about making sure hydration's available, that clothing is worn. So instead of wearing things like sort of tank tops, wear T-shirts which cover the shoulders, because that's a prime area for sunburn.
It is.
If they're spectating sport, like, say, cricket, make sure they sit in the shade whilst they're spectating or having lunch. Very simple rules which actually can do a lot to change the habits of a lifetime for young children. So it's just following little guidelines. We're not saying completely change and be so vigilant that it gets in the way of fun or stops children going outside. Not at all. We're just saying change those little habits. And
I remember going to see, my brother was working in Australia for a year, and going to see him, and over there they are so on it. Kids don't go out without wearing a hat, and my own daughter, I can remember she put a parting in her hair, and you suddenly think there's a lovely white line there, just saying, closest part of her to the sun, come and get me. And in Australia, they wouldn't dream of going out without wearing a hat. And yet I suspect if we went out today and we looked in the parks, little children would probably be wearing sun hats almost as a fashion accessory, but older kids wouldn't, would they?
No, we do have we are known to have a hit and miss attitude to sun protection in the UK, and that's a lot to do with the fact that people don't think the sun is hot enough to cause damage. The weather can be very changeable, so you can wake up in the morning and it's raining, and then in the afternoon get caught out because it's sunny. So we don't really respect the sun in the same way the Australians do. But this is something we need to look at, because our rates are rising so high in the UK. I think Jennifer, if you agree with me, they're superseding Australia and New Zealand because of our habits.
Well, I think in Australia and New Zealand they do have a lot of melanoma, but they pick it up. They have campaigns on the beach and so on, and we are a little bit behind here. Having young children myself, I find it difficult sometimes because we want our children to be outside. We want them to go to forest school, football camps, all these things my children go to. And sometimes you might be the only parent who wants them to wear a hat. But I think people are getting more aware of it now. And I think your campaign is absolutely brilliant, trying to get my children's nursery onto it, and putting on sun cream. But obviously they do need some vitamin D and they do need to be outside. I wouldn't want our children never to go to things. So I think doing it safely and doing a risk-benefit analysis and stopping sunburn in particular is really important.
That's absolutely correct. And our motto is blow the whistle on sunburn, which is something that we all need to avoid. So a lot of people do ask me about vitamin D and say, well, there's a big crisis on vitamin D, isn't there? The thing is, you have to look at it, look at your own skin, understand your own skin. You can go outside, obviously, without protection for a certain period of time. But if you've got fair skin, or if your skin is prone to burning or very moly, you have to be extra vigilant and make sure you wear sunscreen and you reapply it more often.
And it's interesting what you're saying about Australia being ahead of us and the weather here. I can remember being in Australia, a thick, cloudy day, and my sister-in-law said, the ozone's so thin here, you must still put it on. And in a way, if we get into the habit of doing that here, it will probably make it much better and much more likely that we protect our children.
That's correct. And that's one of the things we do mention in the campaign, that even on cloudy days, the sun does peek through and does actually get through the clouds. So you can actually get sunburn. And I think a lot of us would probably agree that sunburn does happen on a cloudy day.
And remember, your factor sun cream is not complete block. So you will still get some sun on your skin if you're worried about vitamin D.
And that's one of the campaigns. There are two more, aren't there, Michelle?
That's correct. We've got one called Watch Your Back, which is launching on the 11th of May in Notcuts. That's a campaign for gardeners. We are supported by 9 of the top gardeners in the UK: David Domenech, Alan Titchmarsh, Charlie Dimmock.
Wow, some good names
Adam Frost,
there.
I could go on. So they're all backing the campaign, making sure we get as much awareness to gardeners as possible. Now, the reason we launched Watch Your Back is because many people go out into the garden on an early spring day. They go to the garden centre, get their plants, and the first thing they want to do is get out there and plant them. They don't remember to wear sun protection, and they sometimes think, I'm only going to be out there for 5 minutes, and they come back with a red neck. This is a very, very common occurrence, and this is where the damage is done. So we're raising awareness to gardeners to say, listen, avoid a garden sunburn. So our campaign is going out into 300 garden centres, posters up with David Domenech, Adam Frost and David Stevens, and the line is, don't be ridiculous, avoid a garden sunburn.
That's brilliant. I love that. I think, and if you are a keen gardener, give us a call here at BBC Radio Kent, 0800 756 1111, or text us on 881 and be honest. Do you think you generally protect yourself as you should when you're out in the garden, or are you guilty of not doing so? And have we persuaded you to stop and think about it? And when you pop out just to pull up a couple of weeds and find yourself still there 2 hours later, will you going forward listen to Michelle's advice and put the sunscreen on? I hope so. So the final one, now I'm hoping my father is listening because he's a keen golfer.
That's right. This is a campaign we launched this year. It's very exciting because the more and more people we talk to, the more we realise how important it is to protect people who play golf and who work in the sport. So the campaign's called Slip, Slap, Swing, which is taken from the famous Slip, Slap, Slop Australian terminology, which was launched many, many years ago.
Anything they can do, we can add on to.
Absolutely. We just thought slip, slap, swing, slip on a sun hat, slap on your sunscreen and then go out and play some golf. We approached Golf England and England Golf, and they loved the idea. And that sort of then roller coasted onto Golf Wales, Scotland, the PGA, the British Association of Greenkeepers. So we've got 9 organisations supporting this very important campaign, which is raising awareness to golfers of how important it is to make sure sun protected when you're on the courses. Reason being they're so at risk is there's many reflective courses on surfaces on a golf course, including sand, grass and water. And also many golfers are out all day without shade. So it's one of the things that we're raising awareness of, and also the fact that many golfers don't apply sunscreen because they're worried about a greasy grip. They think if they put sunscreen on halfway round, it's going to affect their performance. So we're suggesting to them they should use a sunscreen applicator. Very, very simple, and we've spoken to this, as I say, to a lot of golf organisations, and they're completely behind it. So all those little tips, including the sunscreen applicator, is going to hopefully make a difference.
That's fantastic. Now, if you want to get in touch, if you've got any questions about the campaigns or about your own health or a member of your family's health, generally melanoma, anything related to that, do get in touch here at BBC Radio Kent. You're on the air with me, Kirsty Law, and the number to call is 0800 756 1111, or you can text us on 81333. Please just start your text with the word Kent. That's Let's Stay Together and Al Green. You're on the air here at BBC Radio Kent with me, Kirsty Law, and I'm joined in the studio by two experts who are both passionate about raising awareness of melanoma. And we've just had a text in for which thank you very much. The question is, on the radio this morning, there was a feature about Medway Maritime closing the dermatology department and transferring to a private company and the problems with getting through to the new provider. How can you be referred to in East Grinstead? Now, with me is Jennifer O'Neill, who is a consultant surgeon at East Grinstead, Queen Victoria Hospital. So how do people get referred if they want to go through the NHS?
So I think the key is to go back to your GP and explain if you're having troubles with the referral that they've made, and then they can chase that up. And largely where people are referred depends on which postcode they're in. But obviously, if they're not getting any result, they need to get seen. These sometimes private companies do buy NHS contracts, but it's still the NHS. And it's got everyone can be seen there, and so it should work. And West Kent Dermatology that I work for, as part of my Queen Victoria Hospital job, we have a link with them. They are a private company, but it's all NHS, providing a good service in that part of West Kent.
You were saying earlier there are deadlines, aren't there? So people should be being referred and seen within a couple of weeks.
Yes, if the GP is really worried, they can make something called a 2-week wait referral, and then the onus is on the person receiving the referral, the company receiving the referral, the NHS receiving the referral, to see the patient within 2 weeks. And there's a target. They should see people within 2 weeks. And that's the way that the GPs can get in things that they're really worried about quickly.
That's great. Thank you very much for that, Jennifer. Now, Michelle, we were talking earlier about the fact people may not necessarily be comfortable going to their GP. We saw Lembit brilliantly come in and say, what about this? And was told probably just a spot. And in a way, that's what concerns people, isn't it? They don't want to waste. We know the NHS is underfunded. We know that there are issues with waiting lists. People don't want to take an appointment. But if they are worried about skin cancer, you've got a solution, haven't you, on the 11th May? That's
right. As a charity, every year we run quite a few skin check clinics, and they are incredibly popular. We do this around the Kent and Sussex area. We would like to do more, but obviously it's all about funding. So this year we are launching our Watch Your Back campaign with a skin check, and come and meet our celebrity gardeners at Knot Cuts in Tunbridge Wells, which is in Pembury. So that's on the 11th of May. You can pre-book your appointment by visiting www.watchyourback.co.uk/events. If you go onto there, you can pre-book. We do have a limited amount of spaces, but you will be seeing an expert. Well, that's fantastic, because I think if you are worried, to be able just to pop there and hopefully be reassured without troubling your GP. Although what I would say is if you are really concerned, you can even Google images, can't you, to see things. It's better, though, to go to your GP and they won't mind, will they?
I don't think that you should be worried about seeking help. If you're worried, it's been there for more than a week. For example, most spots and things go away after a while, don't they? A few days. It's worth just going to the GP and getting a referral. And sometimes people who have sun damage might go about one thing, and then maybe I'll pick up something else that they didn't even notice. For example, someone will come on with something on their head that's a bit of sun damage. That turns out to be benign sun damage, because you can have sun damage that is dangerous and sun damage that isn't. But because they've been exposed to the sun, or because they're a fair skin type of person, I've done a mole check and found something more worrying on their back where they don't see it. So there's never a need to be shy about coming forwards. And I think that the old style doctor of being disapproving or anything like that has gone out of the window. Most of us are just absolutely delighted to see people who don't have anything wrong with them, and tell them they don't. That's very reassuring. Thank you, Jennifer. Now we're going to continue this conversation shortly, but first let's go over to the travel with James.
Thank you very much for that update from Ben. Now, you're on the air here at BBC Radio Kent with me, Kirsty Law, and we have been talking about raising awareness of melanoma. And we're shortly going to be speaking to Jill Nuttall, who is passionate about sunbeds. And it amazes me that people are still using sunbeds with all the warnings that we've had. So it'll be very interesting to hear what she has to say. We've been hearing about the various campaigns that Melanoma Fund are running. And if you've got any queries about those campaigns, or if you want to know more, you can get in contact with us here at BBC Radio Kent 0800 756 1111 or text us on 81333, starting your text with the word Kent. And you can also get in touch with us via Facebook, BBC Radio Kent official, or tweet us at BBC Radio Kent. So please do get in touch if you've got any queries. And we are going to try and get hold of Jill shortly. But first of all, I just want to ask my two experts here. Is it really true that teenagers are still using sunbeds?
I don't think teenagers should be, because it's illegal in England to use a sunbed if you're less than 18. But as we all know, perhaps that might be slipping through the net. But I have seen 20-year-old girls mostly, maybe boys as well. But in my clinic in Kent, I've seen girls coming in who have developed melanoma, and they have said they've been using sunbeds regularly a lot. And so that's given me, and obviously, an anecdotal view on it. That is very, very sad to see young people develop melanoma.
It is, and it seems, vanity. And yes, that is an age where it's really important to look your best, isn't it, Michelle?
Exactly. The problem is there is no quick fix, and people see sunbeds as a quick fix. And it's something that will immediately make you look better and feel better because you're brown and, your skin is more tan. The thing is, it is very, very damaging, and it's all really about raising awareness of that. I would say if you want a tan skin, and I quite like a tan skin, I have to say, but I use a fake tan. So a lot of people come up to me and go, well, you're tanned. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's out of a bottle. And there is no problem with that. You get some great brands on the market today that they produce great results, and you don't have to risk your health for it. So
absolutely, it's improved a lot from how people used to think it was all streaky. There's some really great brands out there.
That's right, absolutely.
As you say, you can do yourself. I mean, if you've got money to burn, you can get someone come to your house. They can put up a lovely screen and do the full professional job, which maybe for a big night out would be justified. But if it's just fit to make yourself look good for the start of the summer, go and buy a bottle from a supermarket. Do it yourself. Do it with a friend. Do each other. It's perfectly possible to do, isn't it?
Absolutely, and there's also some great brands which are just moisturisers with a built-in tanner, so you don't have to go a gradual tan. Absolutely, and also I have to say, staying fair is actually great as well. There's a big movement on that.
I'm on trend.
Absolutely, own your tone, I think is the phrase. So whatever goes for you, but just do not sunbathe without protection, and do not use sunbeds.
Very sensible words there. And if you've got anything to add to the conversation here at BBC Radio Kent, give us a call 0800 756 1111 or text us on 81333. That was Sing Baby Sing from the Stylistics. Great song there. Now, you're on the air here at BBC Radio Kent with me, Kirsty Law, and I've been joined in the studio this afternoon on Good Friday by Jill Nuttall, who's from the Queen Victoria Hospital, and Michelle Baker, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Melanoma Fund. And we've been hearing the efforts that are being made to raise awareness of this fifth most common and fastest growing cancer. And we were just talking before that song about the fact that people do still use sunbeds sometimes, which is shocking. And one of the points that you were just making to me before whilst we were off air on Jennifer, was that it's not necessarily good for you long term, is it? Because not just can you get the risk of melanoma, but it also causes wrinkles.
So I'm Jennifer O'Neill from Queen Victoria Hospital. I think just in a general thing, if you're a sunbather, then the thing to realise is that can cause wrinkles and hyperpigmentation and hypopigmentation. So it's purely from a cosmetic point of view, it's better to avoid the sun, as well as obviously preventing lesions that can be skin cancer, either melanoma or things like non-melanoma skin cancers like basal cell carcinomas or squamous cell carcinomas. So just thinking about those young people trying to look good, we could tell them that, very much like smoking, because that can also, as well as giving you lung cancer and making you have other problems, can also make you wrinkly. So we should be educating our young ladies that actually, as well as looking after their health, if they're looking after their looks, they should be using a bit of sunscreen,
Because it comes with the moisturiser and is healthy for you, or healthier for you. You agree with all of that, Michelle, I
Absolutely.
can tell.
I think I was just nodding my head there because we call sunbeds ageing machines. So I think it's a really good terminology for something that actually does do that. It really does age you. So, and the thing is, when you're younger, you feel you're infallible and your health is just, it's always going to be there. But believe me.
Never listen. As you get older, trust me,
Yes.
you don't want the wrinkles.
And you're old a long time.
You are, the
Hopefully.
increasing time. Now, we've had a contact earlier who was saying that we've mentioned, obviously, the golf, we mentioned, but that we should also be mentioning bowls. Now, Jennifer, it is a game people can play 4 or 5 times a week outside. I see them in my local park. Some of them do wear hats, but it's obviously important for them as well, isn't it?
Yes, I think any outdoor sport, and I think some of our people who are more elderly, perhaps that'd be more elderly people playing bowls. I don't know, maybe young people like it too. But it's never too late to protect yourself from the sun. And so, sun cream and hats when you're outside a long time, especially in the sun. And we are coming into the sunny months now, so whatever sport you're playing outside, bowls included.
I think a lot of people, when they get older, they feel that their skin is immune. I meet a lot of people in garden centres and they'll say, oh, my skin, and they'll show me their arm and they'll say, I'm absolutely fine, I'm 84 and my skin's, it's still here. And you look and you can see so much sun damage. I think what you have to realise is you get one skin.
Set of skin.
One set of skin, and it is the biggest organ in your body. Look after it.
Now, let's hear from Jill Nuttall, because we've got her on the line. Jill, welcome to the show. Hi. Now, you are passionate about trying to persuade teenagers to stop using, or not teenage, well, over 18s should only be using them, but you're passionate about trying to stop this, aren't you?
Yes. Obviously, seeing what we've seen over the last number of years, we don't believe that any kind of regulation or legislation is ever going to be enough, because if you use social media, you've only got to look at Instagram and Twitter and check out just how many youngsters are using sunbeds and being burned, so badly. And we all know, as Michelle's probably shared with you, that, it only takes 1 or 2 bad burns in younger years to become a melanoma patient in the future. So we just don't think there's any need for them, especially not when we've got such great spray tans and fake tans available now. For us, we just don't think sunbeds have a place.
Well, we've been talking about the fact you can buy in a bottle stuff. Do you think, though, more needs to be done to educate people? The counter campaigns on Facebook and Instagram to show people the effect, because in the same way as cigarettes now have warnings, that literally showing lungs being damaged by smoking, do you think it would help if Instagram and Facebook actually took up the mantle and said, right, we are going to post pictures of people with damaged skin, we are going to post information about what happens when people have to have surgery for melanoma?
Absolutely, yes. We would get behind that absolutely 100%. I mean, the thing is, if you smoke, if you drink, you know what you're risking. You know your risks. Cigarettes are sold from behind a counter in black boxes with pictures of tombs on, so you know exactly what you're getting. But with sunbeds, they're advertised, for me, they're very dishonestly. You're looking at pictures of beautiful young women, very, very bronzed body. They advertise as being good for you. We get the argument all the time that they give you vitamin D. Well, we just don't need to use a sunbed to get vitamin D. A few minutes exposure in the sun, good diet, that's all we need. And if anybody is vitamin D deficient, they just take a vitamin D supplement. It isn't rocket science. But yeah, absolutely, to answer your question roundabout, we would applaud a campaign that actually said, look, if you do this is what you're risking. And Michelle will confirm, we see some horrendous scarring from, and those patients with scarring, they're the lucky ones. They're the ones that are surviving with the scars. Sadly, we lose 7 patients every day to melanoma.
7 a day. And I mean, I can remember being a student, and in your student pack, okay, this was over 20 years ago, I won't say any more than that, but in the student pack was a free voucher for a sunbed at the student union. There it was, the machine was there, anybody could use it for free to get you into the habit. And I must confess I did. It was the only time I ever used it. When I told my mother afterwards, because I'm fair-skinned, she was absolutely horrified and furious. But it is, particularly if it's free when you're a student, you take anything that's free. So I'm hoping that wouldn't happen these days, or do you think it would?
Well, there was a couple of years ago, there was a few universities, I'm not going to name them because it doesn't matter, but they were doing the same thing. They were offering kind of, discounted gym memberships, and in the gym memberships there were sunbed packages. So, yeah, we do see that. And, you can get hundreds and hundreds of minutes of sunbed usage for next to nothing, really. But, in the same way that you can spend, decent money on a fake tan, but it lasts. A tube will last you a while, and just imagine the benefit that you're going to give your skin by not using the sunbeds. As I say, I know there's a lot of argument going around from the industry behind the sunbeds that we're telling lies about the dangers but we take all our information from the NHS, from Cancer Research, from the World Health Organization, and we trust these people. Of course we do. Why would you not? So.
Jill, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're
and
welcome.
I hope people are listening and taking on board your message. Thank you, and happy Easter to you. Now, if you're listening to us here at BBC Radio Kent and you've got any comments about what Jill just had to say, please do get in touch on 0800 756 1111. I could see both my guests nodding vigorously as with agreeing with everything that Jill is saying. And it still seems to me shocking that in this day and age, this is what happens, isn't it?
Well, the funny thing is, I was working with someone the other day and they said, I'm going to go and get a sunbed. And I kind of looked at them and I said, you do know what I do for a living? Yeah, but sunbeds are okay. It's not the sun. So the
goodness.
I know. The thing is, it's about education. She certainly got educated on that aspect, but it is about making sure. I think the young people are educated before. I think we need to get into the children before they are allowed to use sunbeds, just to make sure they don't use them when they do come of age.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, I'm really grateful to you both for joining me here at BBC Radio Kent. Jennifer O'Neill, who works at the Queen Victoria Hospital, Michelle Baker, who is the Chief Executive Officer from Melanoma Fund. Thank you both very much for coming in today. It's very much appreciated. And I'm delighted to say, Michelle, you're going to be staying with me for my next show, which is starting in just 5 minutes' time, and when we are going to be talking about activities that you can do as a family to have fun, get fit and look after yourself. There's lots of exciting things coming up in Kent, but I'd also like to hear from you. If you've got a fitness plan for this bank holiday weekend, suggestions of things you could do. I'm going with my children on a bike ride later this afternoon. If you're doing anything as a family that's getting you out, hopefully wearing the sunscreen, getting you out and about this afternoon, please do get in touch. Tell us what it is you're doing and how you're having fun together and making the most of this Easter weekend, because we don't often get two bank holidays. Well, it's the only time we get two bank holidays either side of the weekend, unless Christmas falls like that. And it is a great opportunity to really have some fun, particularly when it looks like we've been so fortunate with the weather this weekend. So I just want to say once again, thank you both, Jennifer and Michelle, for joining us. And your top tip that you'd like to give to people?
Go out there, have fun. Don't let the sun or worry about the sun stop you. Just make sure you're protected.
And Jennifer?
Absolutely. Hat, sunscreen, and get out there having fun.
Thank you both very much. Good afternoon. It's Good Friday and you're on the air here at BBC Radio Kent with me, Kirsty Law. And we've just spent the last hour talking about the importance of sunscreen covering up in order to avoid melanoma. And it really was fascinating hearing what Michelle Baker, the Chief Executive Officer from the Melanoma Fund, had to say about the efforts that they are making to improve people's awareness and hopefully prevent this illness continuing to be the fastest growing cancer. Now, we were also joined by Jennifer O'Neill, who was explaining how she does the surgery at the Queen Victoria Hospital and the importance of catching it early. If you've got any worries, Michelle was telling us you can go along for a free checkup on 11th May at Knockcuts in Tunbridge Wells. Now, the next hour, we're going to be looking at something a little bit more fun. We are going to be looking at family activities